In this episode about work at home, 5 significant signs you are a chronic procrastinator. Introduction. Procrastination is something that we all deal with at some point or another. We may find that there is some project that we don't want to deal with, or we may feel we have time to do it later. Of course, things always sneak up on us sooner rather than later, and we scramble around to get it all done. It is a temporary thing for most people, something they do or isn't a habit. On the other hand, procrastinators will often deal with these issues each time occasionally and that they have something to do. This guidebook will spend some time looking at what a procrastinator is and some of the main signs to look for when it comes to determining if you or someone else is a procrastinator. We will discuss things such as avoiding unpleasant tasks, making excuses, or giving up because we feel we are not up to the challenge. These things will make the procrastinator put off their work rather than try to finish it. When you are interested in finding out what a procrastinator is like and learning about some of the signs that come with procrastination to see if they are the ones you are dealing with, make sure to check out this guidebook to get started. What is a procrastinator? First, we need to take some time to talk about what a procrastinator is. This person likes to put things off or delay doing the work because they feel they can't handle it or aren't interested in it. A person who wants to put things off or delays is doing the work job because they feel like they can't handle it, including chores, work, and other actions that should be done promptly. If you don't get to work on cleaning the house because you have to take the kids to soccer practice, that is not procrastination. But if you sit down and watch television instead of doing the housework, that is procrastination. We all have times when we will suffer from procrastination in our lives. We don't always want to do some things, and we will put them off as much as possible. But this is usually something temporary with most people. But when it comes to being a procrastinator, they will push the activity off every time they are supposed to do something, or at least most of the time. Often these procrastinators wait until the very last minute to get things done. If they are given a big project, it is common to see them working on it late into the night the day before it is due. These people will go out the day before Christmas to complete their shopping. It seems like no matter what they are doing, and they can never get it done on time and without rushing at the last minute. These people often have every excuse in the book to avoid doing some of the work that they should. They may not feel like they should have to get the job done. They may say that it doesn't interest them, and sometimes they will say that the thrill of waiting until the last minute makes it more exciting for them, so they do better work in the long run. But these are all just excuses that are causing them a lot of harm as they push projects further and further behind each day. You may run across several types of procrastinators in your life. They will all share some common traits, but they can be very different in how they procrastinate and even for the reasons. The 3 types of procrastinators that you may encounter include arousal type. These are also known as the thrill seeker type. These people can get some waiting until the very last minute to get their project done. They like how it feels to get the work done at the last minute, and they will never work on assignments early. Avoider type. These people are very concerned about how others see them. They are terrified of failure. So instead of trying and failing, they feel it is much better to feel incompetent and lazy. They result in them deciding not to do the work. Decisional type. This type of person will be unable to make decisions on things. They will keep putting things off because they don't have to deal with making some of the findings in their life. These are also the people who are relieved when decision-making responsibilities are taken away from them. Most of the time, someone suffering from procrastination has been dealing with this issue for a long time. But even someone who is a chronic procrastinator can change their behavior, although it will take a lot of persistence and dedication. Often the desire to put off things and procrastinate will not go away. Still, procrastinators can learn to change their habits to accomplish all their tasks on time, rather than waiting until the last minute. Sign number 1, you avoid unpleasant activity. One of the first signs that you will notice about procrastinators is that when there is an activity that they find to be unpleasant, they are more likely to avoid doing it at all. We always want to avoid things during the day, but many people will power through them and get these activities done as quickly as possible. But someone who is a procrastinator will avoid the unpleasant activity altogether. They will see that there is something they don't want to do or something that isn't going to be all that much fun for them, and they choose just to avoid it. They will work on something else that is not as important, make calls and texts to friends when it isn't needed, and spend time walking around and chatting or socializing on social media to avoid it. Of course, there are always times when we all want to avoid doing some unpleasant activities. There are days when we want to be lazy or do a task that we would rather have someone else do for us, but this is usually something that is few and far between. Most of us realize that we still need to get the work done, and while there are a few occasions when we avoid the work as much as possible, we will usually get it done and out of the way. On the other hand, a procrastinator will use the unpleasantness of the task or the situation to avoid doing it at all. They will realize that it is not something they want to do, and instead of getting it done and out of the way, they will drag their feet and try to avoid it as much as possible. Instead of avoiding the task occasionally, they will do it all the time. Sometimes when the job is due, they will rush through it and try to get it done in just a few minutes, making it look not good, or they will never get to it. Sign number 2, you make a lot of excuses. Excuses are one of the best tools that many procrastinators use to help them not get started on work. In reality, none of us want to spend time working on projects or doing stuff we aren't that fond of. Instead, we would go out and hang with our friends, spend more time with our kids and families, or go on vacation. But we realize that this is not reality. DS, or we will get our work done without making excuses. But when it comes to a procrastinator, there are always excuses that are out there for why they're not doing the work that they should right now. They will use these excuses to help justify some of their procrastination to get out of doing the work and explain why they would want to put it all off for now rather than trying to get the job done right away. Some excuses include, I don't have the time, or I'm the most creative when I'm under pressure. We are busy days, but we always fit the things most important to us into the day. We can get a lot done if we choose to. We need to make sure that we prioritize things correctly. In addition, no one works better under pressure. T is one of the worst ways to work because you hire pressured, and you are likely to hand, which will look horrible in the long run. Sign number 3, you look for the distractions. A good sign of a procrastinator is someone who always seems distracted. These are the people who are always doing little busy work throughout the day, but they never seem to be able to get their actual job done promptly. They will make some excuses for what they need to do, but they can find distractions no matter where they are going. Many things can distract us when we are working. You could check your email every time a new message came up. There's the issue with trying to stay off social media, checking our phones all the time, having people stop by all the time, running off to the office or break room as often as we can, and so much more. The problem with this behavior is that it results in us taking too much time out of our day trying to do these little things rather than completing the work right before us. When we can reduce the number of numbers, we can get distracted, we can get more done daily. When it comes to most people can avoid distractions as much as possible. They will turn off the internet and not check their email or social media accounts until the work is done. They will hide their phones on the other side of the room, so they aren't tempted to answer them all the time. They may even close the office door and make it look like they aren't there so that others will leave them alone. They know what they need to do, want to get it done as quickly as possible rather than wasting time. Oh, but for procrastinators, things are going to work a little bit differently. Rather than trying to avoid some of these distractions, they will be attracted to them. They don't want to do the work, so if they can find something that will distract them and find something that they can do instead of the work, they will run towards it as fast as they can. They will find that while they are doing a lot of busy work in the process, they miss out on getting some of the actual work done by the end of the day. But this doesn't stop them. They keep pushing on through the end of the week, and then, if they get to this part, they will try and rush through the work at the last minute, hoping to get it all done. Sign number 4, you have trouble managing your time. Time management is one of the best things you can do for your work. When you manage your time, it is easy to get all the job done attractively without worrying about taking it home and missing out on some of the other things you would like to get done during the day. People who are bad at time management are the ones who have to spend their nights and weekends at work trying to catch up. In contrast, those who are good at managing their time are the ones who can go home at the right time each day, and they often feel less stressed out, even though they have the same amount of work as everyone else. When we are talking about a procrastinator, we are talking about people who are not good at managing their time. These people will think that they can finish tasks in a short amount of time, so they never plan on getting things done early. They figure there is no need, and since they aren't that interested in getting things done early and seeing how that feels, they will often give up and wait until the last minute when they are better able to do it, at least in their minds. For example, these people would get a big project and be told it's due in 2 weeks. Rather than getting started and coming up with a plan to help them get the work done in time, they will move it to the side and assume they can get to the job later. Of course, they will keep pushing the work back until they cannot wait any longer, which will result in them rushing around and most likely losing out because the result will be horrible. Sign number 5. You avoid things because you don't feel confidence in the task. Sometimes the procrastinator is not avoiding the task just because they don't want to do it, but more because they feel that they are not up to the task. They don't think they are qualified to finish the job or have the proper knowledge to get started on the charges, so they will choose to just put it off rather than trying to take on the task. These people will not take their time doing things just because they don't feel capable of doing the work. For example, you may decide that you don't know how to run an IRA or a 401k, so you don't start your retirement plan at all, whether through work or on your own. This continues until you reach retirement and realize that you have nothing saved up, or at least for a few years before retirement, so you have to scramble or run out of time. There are things we are all unsure how to do, but with procrastinators, we will purposely avoid these tasks. Others may realize that they don't know much about retirement, so they will either read up on the topic or find someone else to walk them through it or do the work for them. With the example of the retirement plan, you don't have to know how to make this work on your own. You can hire a company or an individual who can do the work for you and helps you to get that retirement plan going. Conclusion. All of us have those times when we will be considered procrastinators. We want to be able to put off tasks that we don't think are all that pleasant or that we don't want to do. But most of us decide to get to work and see how much we can get done without waiting. It is different for a procrastinator because they will determine that they can do it later or decide not to do the work in the first place. There are some prominent signs that you will be able to find when it comes to a procrastinator, and no matter the type they are or what they are putting off, you will be able to determine it based on some of the signs that we talked about above. Learn how to avoid some of these signs, and you may have a better chance of getting stuff done and seeing some of the results with your workflow that you would like. Now, if you'd like to beat procrastination and take charge of your life, I recommend you to check out this killer blueprint.
Content produced and distributed by AllSuperInfo. For more free educational content, visit learnforfree.biz.